Hey, what's up guys, Marco here, and today we're going to do a comic book black. We're going to go deep dish on this Terminator. So what do we have to do first? We need to read some comic books. So here's Black Panther, and as you can see, not a lot of black. It's mostly blue and grays and fun highlights like that, only black in the deepest shadows. And here we go, best superhero of all time. Mostly gray, mostly blue-gray on the cape, only black on the insignia and the max shadows. So here we go, here's the triad. Coal black, obviously, dark gray blue to push him into that blue spectrum, and then the max highlight of bright warm gray. So let's start it up. Coal black in the airbrush. I'm just using a bit of water here. Honestly, some people frown on this, but these Monument Hobbies paints don't need a lot of flow improver through the airbrush, and I blow it about 30 psi. So we're gonna get a good consistent layer of black. And I know he's already primed black, but you still want black paint down because it's a layer, and if you have to go back in and touch it up, you want to be able to go back to a consistent paint or else it's gonna look weird. So here we go. Now we're gonna introduce a bit of that dark gray blue into the black, make a little transition, and once we mix it up here, again, just with water, we're gonna get this nice kind of like slate gray, blue gray, black blue, I don't know, it has all that in it. So it's a nice little color here. And we're basically gonna do super broad highlights on this guy, zenithal style, but we're hitting a lot of the top of this model. The very, very tip-top flat panel, shoulder pads, butt, back of the greaves, power fist, and yeah, really, really broad. It's almost like we're rebase coating this guy, but not quite. And the nice thing is, when this dries, it's really gonna dull out, and it's gonna kind of make this black really more interesting. It's still gonna read as black, but if you kind of look at him, you're gonna go, oh, that's interesting. He's still got a little bit of, dynamic color to him, and that's what we want. You might notice there's some spots that are still gray on the underside. That's because I'm gonna go back in later in life and do kind of like a fun little underlit OSL. Don't worry about that for this video. Pretend they're not there. Okay, so now more of that dark gray blue. And at this stage, we're kind of working with like the pure form of this color. We're going in right out of the bottle, pure blue. And this is when we're gonna kind of do our first actual highlight. So we're gonna be a little bit more careful, hit the more top regions of what we just did. And this is really gonna start to blow out this black. And it's gonna make it a lot more interesting. It's gonna really push them into that blue spectrum like we saw in Black Panther, things like that. We're just gonna do a consistent zenithal highlight, a little less than we did in that first stage. And there we go. And just a quick pass, nothing crazy. And now it's gonna get a little dicey. We're gonna put in this bright, warm gray. Do not need a lot. And we're gonna put in a lot of water because I want this to flow really, really nicely. Because what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bleed out some of the pressure so I can get in nice and close on this guy. Because this is gonna be the max highlight and I wanna be precise. So you can see I'm getting nice and close, kind of point blanking this guy. And you might notice that I kind of flick the airbrush off to the left pretty often. And that's because if any kind of paint accumulates on the tip, I want to blast it off before I'm aiming this thing at the model. Because the worst is when you don't do that and it spatters. And then you kind of ruin your paint job and it's very, very sad. Now we're really blowing out this black. It looks great. So now we're going to use gloss varnish. I use Liquitex or anything that comes in a big container for not a lot of money because it's just varnish. And I use airbrush thinner by Vallejo. And why would I use thinner? Well, thinner obviously thins the paint and thinner paint dries faster. And I want this varnish to dry super duper quick because I'm not looking for it to seal up my model as if I'm finishing a paint job. I just want to get the glossy effect on here because we are about to drown this guy. We're about to waterboard this guy with a black wash. So I'm gonna set a quick timer here, 45 minutes, that's all I need. And I'm gonna take this beautiful moment to talk about the fact that I've been painting up these guys live on Twitch, so please check me out there. We have a ton of fun on live stream. Link in description below. Here we go. This is the most beautiful thing in the world. 1 second left, slow rise theme. It's how I wake up every day, so should you. Okay, nice and glossy. There we go. Do a little fingernail test here to make sure it's not gonna scratch off. If it doesn't scratch off there, it's not gonna come off with my paintbrush. Good little rule of thumb or nail, if you will. And we're gonna take the classic Null & Oil by Citadel, the matte version. And I'm just going to pound the wash into this guy with a nice big size 5 brush. And as you can see, it just jets off those large flat surfaces because of that gloss varnish. And it's just going to go right into the recesses, which is what I want for this first pass. I don't want to stain. I don't want to like coffee stain it, which the gloss varnish does not allow. I want to kind of tint it. And by doing so, we're going to kind of bring this guy back to black, and you can make your joke and insert your song, whatever. Take a moment. Okay, let's move on. And as you can see, it's really making that recesses around the gold trim pop, around the feet, around the face, things like that. So just kind of keeping it moving. But for the most part, that gloss varnish is really doing work for us here, which is excellent. Don't have to think too hard about it. It will pull a little bit on actual flat surfaces like the top right there. That's basically a completely flat panel, so want to be a little careful there. But yeah, after one pass, he's going to be looking pretty good. Let's take a look at him right now. There we go, one pass done. It's kind of reading a little bit more black, but it's not quite there, so I'm just going to do it again. And now I got to be a little bit more selective because this is a matte wash, which is going to kind of dull out that gloss coat a bit. It's not going to break up the surface tension as much, so I'm going to be a little bit more selective. I'm going to keep that wash moving. Make sure that it's going to do a little bit more work on those flat surfaces. And the other thing is that it kind of acts as a glaze here too, and that it's going to kind of tie those colors together. So we're getting a nice smooth transition from black out of the recesses and shadows up to that kind of nice warm gray highlight. And there we go. This is after 2 passes. You can see he's nice and matte again, no gloss to him. And yeah, if you wanted to go darker, you could go for a 3rd pass, but I kind of like where he is right now. And I've got a little test model of someone I've already done in this technique that I'm going to show you. Another Terminator bro, his friend. And yeah, there you go. You can see the black is blown out. It's not pure black. A little bit of blue in that shoulder pad and gray on the top. Nice and highlighted. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I encourage you to try this just to make your blacks a little bit more interesting. And yeah, I hope you got something from this. Thank you for watching. Leave a comment if you've got a question or anything like that. Peace and love. Enjoy. I'll see you guys next time.